We are live.
Welcome to the Undercard Supercast for June 10th, 2014. I'm your host, founder, editor, and Chael was framed of Undercard Superstar, Luke Irwin. Joining me tonight, the winner of the prestigious Loon Award for the noisiest house in Brooklyn, 12 years running, Ben Cohn. Next to him, some say he has all the charm of a natural gas leak at an orphanage, Connor Dillon. And lastly, known to his family, friends, and colleagues as Black Superman, Josh Hall. Let's get it rolling right away. Dateline Dan Galvan's vacation bungalow, where no doubt he was able to watch all the fights from this weekend. In honor of our friend Brian Caraway, who wins your golden largemouth bass for his fighting technique, and who takes home the odious, the despised, the not even Taylor Engel can make it interesting, golden poop, Ben.
The golden largemouth bass. I really like that one. I am going to definitely give it to the new flyweight #1 contender, John the Magician Dodson. Comes into his backyard, trains at Jackson's, is looking for another title shot. Probably was the closest to beating him for a title at flyweight, and he came in and absolutely put the beat down on Jean Moraga. He got a massive pop from the crowd. It was essentially, it felt like a little bit like a WWE thing, like, oh, let's cheer the guy who we're supposed to cheer. No, he got the biggest cheers out of any single fighter on that card, and it was really incredible to see. He's entertaining. His post-fight speech, his post-fight reaction and celebration was awesome. He looked fantastic. He clearly has unbelievable power. He accidentally kneed him in the face and meant to kick him, but the power in his shot was so much it still floored him, and his nose was completely busted up. And one thing I really, so actually this is what I'm going to give my golden poop to, specifically for their commentary on this fight is what sealed it for me. Kenny Florian and John Anik. I really didn't agree with their commentary on this fight at all. They're saying, oh, John Moraga is starting to come back. John Dodson's not being active enough. Moraga was missing or not landing effective shots for the most part. John Dodson wasn't getting tired. John Dodson wasn't just not throwing. John Dodson is a counter-striking power puncher. That's what he does. He waits for you to come in because he knows he's faster than you and he knows he hits harder than you. He's not going to lead. He's generally at a height and reach disadvantage. Why in the world would he lead if he doesn't have to? And Moraga's not a bad striker. Moraga is also a counter-striking boxer. That's his game. Why would he lead? Force Moraga to lead, and it worked out well. So I give my golden poop to them, and I give my golden largemouth bass to John Dodson for that amazing performance, and he's getting a flyweight title shot. I don't know how they can't give it to him.
Connor?
Well, guys, I think the clear contender for the golden largemouth bass is the State Athletic Commission for Nevada for their excellent refereeing, their fantastic judging calls.
They were in New Mexico, Connor.
New Mexico, sorry. And see what I mean? It's all the same. This is absolutely fantastic calls around the clock. Let's warn 15 times for eye pokes, but not take a point away. Let's let Diego Sanchez somehow win a split decision and a clear 30-27 decision for someone else. And we can't forget, which is being defended by Mr. Tate. So what can I say, right, guys? Now, I want to give my golden poop to the obvious person who absolutely deserves this, which would be, man, who else can earn this, guys? But maybe everyone that is kind of not really calling everything out that happened this weekend. I like that the commentators talked about the judge's call, but you know, Dana was on break. Lorenzo didn't say anything. Scholler didn't want to say anything until someone else came in. Guys, when something clearly fucked up happens, just say it clearly fucked up.
Well, Dana did.
Yeah, I know, 3 days after the fact. I don't blame him.
3 days. I mean, yeah.
I mean,
It said
I
something.
blame everyone else that was either in attendance / was not preoccupied with a family vacation. You know? Because New Mexico does not deserve it. I will willingly admit that before Texas gets another event, Senor Luke deserves one.
Kiss ass there, Connor.
Thank you, and I was gonna be my one of my points. I will expound upon that. Josh.
Okay, well, since nobody else seems fit to say it, the golden fish hook. Fuck the bass shit. That was a goddamn fish hook if I've ever seen one. The golden fish hook goes to Mikel Cotto, the new undisputed middleweight champion of the world. I mean, I don't even think that this is a thinker here. He is obviously the big winner of the weekend, given that he didn't even come anywhere near the 160-pound limit at any point ever in his career, and is now the undisputed champion. I know Sergio Martinez's knees went on him in the fight, but his knees going on the fight had nothing to do with him getting knocked down 3 times in the first couple of minutes, and Cotto looked amazing. Golden poop. Oh, there's so much poop to go around.
Spread that.
All about, much as it kills me to do it, Jason High, because as much as he got absolutely shafted in that fight, you can't put your hands on an official after the fight. You just can't. And, I mean, even when something dirty happens, if you feel like it's dirty, you cannot put your hands on an official. And he's better than that, and he knows better than that. I know he's apologized for it, but that's just something you don't ever want to see in the sport.
I'm actually going to kind of I'm going to give my golden largemouth bass and actually kind of give accolades to a person that I am pretty down upon a lot, and that is Ben Henderson. Ben took a fight that was very, very, very low reward and high risk. You know, Nate Diaz wouldn't have taken this fight. Gilbert Melendez wouldn't have taken this fight. You know, there are a lot of guys I think who would turn down a fight with Rustam Khabilov, who again is I mean, we as fight dorks know that he's talented, but this.
To be fair, he thought he was fighting Khabib.
Yeah,
He admitted as much.
admitted to it.
He did not honestly think he was fighting Khabilov when he signed the contract.
But he still said he didn't care and he'd fight.
Yeah.
Best part.
That's pretty awesome. By awesome, I mean horrifyingly inept.
It doesn't matter. I'll beat whatever Dagestani you put in front of me, I guess.
Yeah, really. And so he took it. Like I said, he took it with a fight that no one else would, and he was tested. And it was not sunshine and ice cream sandwiches. I want to say all 3 judges had Khabilov up.
I think
Yeah,
2.
like 29, 28.
29,
28. That's not a crazy score. I had it 29-28 Henderson, but 29-28 Khabilov was reasonable. As long as there was no 30-27 either way, then they weren't too long.
And he fought through. He got a finish in the 4th. He got his first finish in the UFC, and also finished Khabilov for the first time. So it's rare that I shower praise upon the man, but when it's due. So Benson Henderson for, like I said, and actually being a saving grace to the shit stain that was the majority of the card, and helped to get the bad taste out of people's mouths after the co-main. Golden poop once again to the UFC. I bitch about it every week, but anymore that we're getting cards in New Mexico and Maine and Turkmenistan, I imagine, is on the horizon. Maybe the Isle of Man.
Dude, Dagestan.
That's probably.
Russia first,
I don't understand what else Pennsylvania needs to do to get another card. We haven't had one here in, I think I want to say we're going to go on 3 years now. We have major metropolitan cities. We have one of the best athletic commissions in the world.
See, you were close. You have one of the best athletic commissions in the world. We can't have that around.
Yeah. I mean, we have easy access from people that can come from Canada, from New York, from places in the Midwest that don't get a lot of fight cards that can come to Pennsylvania. I don't get it. it's becoming ridiculous now. The fact that Texas, of all places, just gets continually just peppered with fight cards, and Pennsylvania, I don't know, with the fourth biggest state maybe in the country, can't seem to be bothered with coming around. I don't get it, and that goes for the majority of promotions too. Every once in a while, Bellator will sneak into the very corner of PA, but no, man, absolutely. If Bellator came to Pittsburgh, if RFA or another place came to Pittsburgh, I'd sure as hell go. I don't know why we're so scary to fight promotions, and they'd rather go to leper colonies instead of an actual functioning place with brand new state-of-the-art arenas and lively downtown areas. But
and you guys had the Rocky movies, so that happened.
There's certainly that, although people in Western PA tend to not really care for people in Eastern PA. Philadelphia is like our retarded cousin, and we don't like to talk about much, but we'll see you at Thanksgiving, give a cursory wave. Hey, how's things? Good? Okay. All right. Yeah, you're careful. You spilled a little grape pop. All right.
Luke, before we move on, I feel it necessary. We have to give a shout-out, and anybody who hasn't seen this, go find Andy Lee's knockout from the undercard of the Cotto Martinez event. If you haven't seen that, go watch it now and then watch it again. It is one of the best come-from-behind, just insta-KOs that you will ever see, and a legit knockout of the year contender.
We both talked about that in our Fighters of the Week, which will be up later tonight or tomorrow morning. But yeah, there's a reason he didn't get higher was because he was getting absolutely pasted earlier, in the fight by a guy who he was favored over. But yeah, if John Jackson had even a microcosm of a decent chin to withstand that, he probably continues to wail on Andy Lee. But as it was, Lee withstood it, and yeah, a lot of really good knockouts here this year in boxing. Actually, a lot of really good contenders.
2 weeks in a row.
I know it.
Oh, yeah.
Dateline, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Earl Montclair took TC Angle's hatred editorial this week, and in a card that had a number of things to pick from, what was your most hateable part of Saturday's Fight Night card in honor of the article and basic dysfunction that the card brought us? Ben?
I mean, we already kind of discussed a couple of things that we hated. There's a lot to choose from. Brian Caraway. Being Brian Caraway is one. But honestly, I'm going to go a different tack here, other than the obvious things like the referees and the commission, blah, 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 blah. The thing I hated the most was seeing the complete and utter final nail in the coffin of the physical decline of Yves Edwards. He's still technical. He's still intelligent. He could still fight. It's like the will is there, the skill is there, but the body just won't respond anymore. We've seen it all the time with fighters who just stay on too long. His chin hasn't gone out. He just can't do it anymore. His body can't take it. He gassed out after 2 rounds. When was the last time you saw Yves get choked out like that? It's really sad, and I think that's the thing I hated the most. That you see someone who's a really awesome guy, always comes to fight. He's always exciting, and someone who's been around for freaking decades at this point. And to see his decline like this, it sucks. It really does. And I'd really like to see him. I hope he's able to be financially secure to retire, but I don't know. That's what I hated the most. Seeing Yves look so much. He looked like just a defeated fighter for career-wise.
Connor?
Similar to Ben, I'm going to talk about something that isn't necessarily... It's related to the card, but is not directly on that night, which is the reaction that I've seen from fans towards Jason High's shove of Kevin Mulhall. I know Josh talked about it earlier, but for some of you that don't know, I've been reading comments where it's like, well, it was a love tap, he shouldn't be cut, he shouldn't be fined heavily, it should be a slap on the wrist, stuff like that. I can understand liking a guy enough, but if Conor McGregor touched a ref the same way Jason High would, I would tell you to cut him from the UFC. I would not defend him. I would tell you to cut him. Because you are in combat sports. You are trained as an athlete to kick someone else's ass. All right? I don't care if it's a love tap or anything. You put your hands on an official acting in a official capacity, and you done fucked up. You just need to get cut, because that's not okay, you know. And don't try it. You can't compare it to any other sport unless it's a combat sport. And if the same thing happened in boxing or kickboxing, I would tell you the exact same thing. Cut the fucking fighter. You know? And so the reaction of people defending and suggesting that High was in the right to push him, like, unless Kevin Mulhall punched Jason High, assaulted him verbally or physically, you know, I don't see any way you could defend what Jason High did.
Josh?
Yeah, I mean, High has been cut. If you weren't aware that has gone down officially, he has been released.
I didn't know that.
Just a little breaking news. I'm actually a little disappointed by that. I would have rather seen a lengthy suspension and fine than a cut, but I'm not broken up over it by any means. He made his bed, and he's got to lie in it now. To get back onto the topic of what we really hated from this card.
He's also been very underwhelming in his UFC return as well, though.
He
had won a couple of fights in a row coming into this one.
Yeah, he lost to Eric Silva and then won a couple.
He won 2. He was 2-2 overall. But I'd rather him be cut, because now he can go fight anywhere else. He's not suspended. He's not, you know, he can still fight somewhere else at least, so he can still make money.
Well, you don't know. New Mexico might pull something.
No, he's very likely going to get an athletic commission suspension as well. And if he does, that will carry over from state to state.
True.
But they may not, because the UFC released him, but I would be really surprised if the commission doesn't take some sort of official action. But anywho, my hate on this card, it's got to go directly and fully on to Jeff Collins, with arguably the worst scorecard in the history of MMA. I mean, I can't make an argument of a scorecard that has really been worse than his 30-27 Diego, in a fight where Diego got just beaten around the cage, and he wasn't even able to, like, stumble forward and, like, drunkenly swing and miss. He was just getting pot-shotted from the outside. So even though I predicted pretty much that exact result in a complete robbery, it was even a little much that when they were reading the decision, I still couldn't believe it, having predicted it on the show last week. So, Collins, you should not be judging another UFC card until you have established that you actually have 2 functioning eyes and at least 4 brain cells.
My biggest, there were so many to pick from, but the crowd. Like, again, if you're going to a market for the first time, something you can absolutely be sure of is that the crowd is going to be fired up. You're getting a card for the first time ever, and it's a good card. On top of that, featuring a lot of hometown and home state fighters, and they were just couldn't be bothered. You know, if something happened, great. If not, like, there is no need to ever go back to New Mexico. I know Earl titled it UFC Fight Night. Do Greg Jackson a solid. So I mean, there's really no need to go back there. Nothing was good. The refereeing was awful. The judging was awful. The fans were awful. It was an awful experience. No need to go back to New Mexico. So, whatever. You guys deserve New Mexico State basketball.
It's amazing that there was so much to hate on from this card that Mario Yamasaki didn't get a specific shout-out for his the guy was all over the place.
The thing is,
how many times are you going to warn a guy in a fight? Like, I know it's not all the same fouls, but he warned Piotr Holman 5 or 6 different times. 2 for eye pokes, and then 3 or 4 other assorted things, like I think a cage grab. There was just random little things, and there was never even a thought of a point deduction.
I don't think the cage grab was a blatant cage grab. If I remember correctly, I was like, he didn't really grab the cage. His hands were resting on it.
His point was still that there were multiple fouls committed that Yamasaki warned him.
Yamasaki's bad in everything.
If you're in a Yamasaki fight, it's like you pick and choose your illegal blows because you know he's going to give you at least one, maybe two of each of them. It's not like you're going to get one or two fouls throughout the fight. You're going to get your 2 eye pokes. You might be able to get a low blow in there. You can sneak in little something else, maybe even fish hook. Obviously, those are kind of...
They're making a comeback
nowadays. Yeah.
In Yamasaki's defense, I don't even think he might have been the worst referee on that card. That first guy from the Cummins and
See, that's what's amazing.
Cummins fight and the Tuck fight. That guy was the worst referee I've ever seen.
Oh, he was terrible too. Every referee that was on the card was awful that night. Even Kevin Mulhall, who's usually pretty good, was not good.
Yeah, Kevin Mulhall also, by the way, even though he didn't call those illegal blows to the back of the head, granted, they're illegal blows, but he should have stopped that fight. That was a good stoppage. It was not an early stoppage. You got to take into account a couple things. High was just dropped, and dropped hard. He just flopped to the ground. He was then in a deep half guard position, but the problem with his deep half guard, even if he was claiming, I'm okay, Dos Anjos is landing clean blows to him. He cannot defend because his right arm is pinned under Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos has his weight over the mat.
But he's in a position to defend because the only thing Dos Anjos can hit is the back of his head, and so he's just drumming away at it, and the referee's allowing it.
I agree with that.
Or else is Dos Anjos going to hit him to earn the stoppage?
But I don't think Jason High was immediately complaining about blows to the back of the head. He was complaining about the fact that it was stopped, period. So the fact that it was not, people were saying, oh, early stoppage, he could not move. Jason High was pinned. He would not have been able to get that deep half guard sweep. Dos Anjos is too good of a black belt. He's very strong.
But all he could do was hold him from that position. He couldn't strike to his head from there unless he went to the back of the head, and that was how he stopped him.
Who was... I think it was...
Subo.
No. The feather... not RDA. Rafael Sunsao. He did it to someone else, no? Or he was... I'm trying to think of some... I think one of the Sunsao brothers was caught in deep half and was getting elbowed by one of the Dagestani fighters. I can't remember. I honestly can't.
I feel like it may have been Khabib versus Tavares, because I think there was some
just repeated elbows and got the stoppage. You're completely right. It was not an Ascensa. It was Thiago Tavares. Correct. But back to the Parado guy, whatever his name was. Yelling at the fighters to move after 5 seconds of grappling on the ground.
He stood somebody up while they were landing hammer fists from the top. I remember the guy was mid hammer fist and he stepped in and broke him up while he was still throwing, which was solid.
And John Crouch actually yelled at him. He's like, "That was a bullshit stand up," and it was. He stood him up after maybe 10 seconds on the ground. I want to go back and look it up. I think it was 10 seconds or less that they were actually on the ground. And he was in half guard and trying to pass and landing punches, and it was the most ridiculous thing. I don't understand it. You're influencing the fight tremendously. He's a referee. They have to listen to him. And when you influence the fight in such a negative way, it could have really cost John Tuck the fight or the round. It did impact that first round immensely. He was lucky he won, but it's really a big problem.
Dateline, Las Vegas, Nevada. Fire! Chael Sonnen submitted to a random drug test last month at a UFC conference. And surprise, surprise, not unlike Tony Montana's wife, his womb is so polluted. Chael went on Fox Sports 1 today and explained that he was basically hiding in plain sight, taking a known supplement to help wean him off testosterone. Vanderlei Vitor Chael Urine Fest 14 rolls on through the summer. Now Chael is off the UFC 175 card. What do we have to look forward to now, Ben Cohn? What do you think is the next domino to fall here?
I don't know, but to get in the spirit of talking about Chael Sonnen, I feel like this is necessary.
Oh my God!
All right, I feel like I can talk now.
What is that? A belt for ants?
Well played, Zoolander reference.
Why do you have that?
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking.
Because I got it. I don't know. I just got it like a couple of years ago. It was pretty awesome.
Have you got John Jones to sign it yet?
I'm going to. I actually have a special pen waiting here so that I can get him to sign it. moving along. Chael Sonnen is not going to get taken off this card. I don't know if you understand this, but Chael Sonnen is undefeated, undisputed, the greatest middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight if he so chose to ever step into the octagon ring or WEC cage. All right? He will tell every single interviewer the same thing. Chael Sonnen doesn't need TRT. He may have hypogonadism, but technically, if he wants to, he can remove both balls and still kick your ass. Anyway, no, seriously, Chael Sonnen is fucking stupid because this is really, really bad because he's essentially done as a fighter after this. He's going to get suspended. He's already 37 or something, I think, 37. He's coming off some bad stoppages. His last win is over Shogun with a guillotine choke that even he admitted I would never be able to pull that off again on Shogun, which is rare to admit that. But I don't see where he goes from here. I think he's going to retire. I think that the UFC is going to possibly keep him off broadcast for a little while. I would hope. Dana's coming out and spewing the bullshit of only 5 fighters have been. We've only ever had 5 fighters on TRT. Blah blah blah. Out of 500 bullshit, I could think of off the top of my head 7 or 8, and there are probably much more. You know, and you have these issues with Belfort. What are you going to do with Belfort at this point? I honestly think at this point, the Weidman-Machida fight's only it's a month and a half away.
4th of July.
4th of July.
It's a month or a month and a half away. Just wait, see what happens. You know, if Weidman wins, maybe try and rebook the Belfort fight. If Machida wins, and if it's not an emphatic win, it's a disputed win, they'll maybe do the rematch. But if not, match Belfort up with Machida. Put something together. Machida should just wait at this point. I don't think there's any reason to try and put together another fight. If you have to, the only fight I can think of that makes sense is putting him in there with Mousasi. That's what I think.
Wait. You're suggesting Machida wait? Wait for what?
He's fighting for the title.
No. I'm saying no. If Belfort should wait.
Well, you said Machida earlier.
Take Belfort off this card.
Mm-hmm.
I meant Belfort. I apologize. I'm saying if Machida wins and it's emphatic, match him up with Belfort. If Weidman wins, it's emphatic. Match.
Card gets real thin once you take him off of it.
Yeah, well, so that's what I'm saying. If you feel that you need to keep him on this card and Mousasi is healthy, that's the only fight that makes sense. Unless you want to give him another tuna.
I don't know how the hell Vitor deserves a title shot at this point.
Because who else are you going to give it to?
Somebody who's not in need of like copious amounts of testosterone to fight.
Jacare's injured. And Rockhold, I don't know if they're going to give it to him right away.
You can't give Vitor a shot after he failed his 83rd drug test of his career.
I feel like now is the time to do it because I think that now he's probably going to be at his most easily beaten, and if he gets beaten for another title shot, they can just get rid of him for good. Like they can just hide him, they can ignore him, and I think he would lose. I think he'd lose.
He's got to earn a title shot without the TRT. I think if it's out of the sport, that's what created him.
If you're essentially rewarding Vitor off of a failed drug test that flies in the face, that would be a sham and a mockery. Would fly in the face of everything Dana says.
Who else could they give the title shot?
It's not completely barren. There are people there, and if not, this fight happens. We'll see what happens.
You want a worst case scenario? Book Mousasi, Tim Kennedy for a title shot. You have two guys that are climbing up and that have never fought the champion or even might beat the champ.
I don't want to see that fight for one reason. It proves nothing for either one of them. We know Kennedy's tough and has a great chin, and we know he can wrestle and grapple really, really well.
He's proven that he's the top guy now, I thought.
He's proven that he's the top guy, but he needs to be able to beat someone who could stop his takedown game and then have to strike with him. I think.
But that was supposed to be Bisping. That was Bisping, and he passed that test.
But he doesn't have... No, I'm talking about power. Someone who can actually hurt him on the feet.
So he needs to fight someone who can stop the takedown and has power on the feet.
He needs to be able to... Yeah, because Weidman, he's not going to be able to take down. He's not going to be able to take down Weidman.
No, listen, Ben, it doesn't matter. Tim Kennedy or Gegard Mousasi they're not beating Chris Weidman. But I'm saying, at the very least, for window dressing and for public perception, you cannot give Vitor a title shot, especially not even even after the fact that he didn't even beat Chael or didn't beat anybody, and he failed a drug test. You know how awful that would look?
It's
That would
worse
be
than the Nick Diaz title shot.
That would be a gun in the chamber of anyone who wants to talk about the UFC being hypocritical on drug testing.
Nick Diaz, anyone?
Yeah, but it's weed, bro. It's
Nick
just
Diaz,
weed.
what I just said.
I didn't hear you. But they've done it before, and they'll probably do it again, honestly.
You would. If you were in charge of the UFC.
I would. If I was honestly in charge, I would have cut Vitor Belfort. But that's...
Then why are you advocating to give him a title shot? I'm so confused.
I'm not advocating for a title shot. I'm saying what I think the UFC will do.
It's been a little bit since we've had a trademark Ben Cohn awful take.
It's been a few weeks. You don't think the UFC would be stupid enough to put Belfort in the title shot, really?
Not after this most recent drug test, no.
With the triangle of hot piss on this card, they don't want any of them anywhere near a title shot right now. It's
not with how volatile
I feel like they don't.
This whole issue has been.
I know, but it's really not like the UFC to make really smart decisions when it comes to title shots. We've seen it time and time again. We really have. It's not like this is news. They've got losses, drug tests, guys who have previously failed during title fights, their drug tests. They don't care. If they feel that it's going to get them the most money possible, they're not going to put Mousasi against Weidman or Machida because that's not going to make them money. Belfort, for whatever we're saying, he is a star in Brazil. Okay? He's popular. They're going to get ratings from Brazil, and they know they will, specifically if it's matched up against Machida. They know they're going to kill it in Brazil. Against Weidman, you have Weidman, the all-American wrestler, the guy who everyone loves. He's undefeated. He's good-looking. He's white. He's very articulate. He's got everything going, and people are going to tune in. The Americans are going to tune in to watch Weidman beat the hell out of Belfort. The hardcore MMA fans are definitely going to tune in, and you know that the Brazilians are going to tune in as well to watch it on Globo in Brazil. It's very lucrative business, Vitor Belfort, regardless of all the shit he puts out there, and we all know that it's a very lucrative business. That's why they keep him. That's why they put up with his shit, because they know how much money he can bring to the table for them.
I think the wound is too fresh, and I think now more than ever, Dana and the UFC are really, really planting their flag that they're clean, they're not dirty, this is how they handle business. I think this right now would undo everything that they're trying to do. I think it's the wrong time for it. I'm not even saying, hey, let Vitor have a fight, make him test clean, and then maybe move him in. I think the timing right now, especially in the wake of Chael getting nailed again today, they can't, man. They got to have somebody squeaky goddamn clean in that title picture. They can't have.
I was saying Kennedy's name earlier.
Yeah, even the notion of any impropriety. It is awful. It is awful timing for it right now. They can't go near it yet. Yeah. Maybe when things calm down, but no, not anywhere. No. 6 months maybe. Connor.
I kind of, I don't want to be so I don't want to be so nihilistic to believe that the UFC would actually do what Ben is suggesting. I lean towards what Luke has been talking about, where, the fires are burning really hot right now, and they don't want to go near, hot piss. Like, it's as simple as that. So, Vitor, I don't know how there's any way in hell he'd ever get licensed to fight on this card, period. And so whenever he comes back from this suspension, if he did fight, the UFC, I feel like they're going to say, well, he hasn't fought in a while and he needs to fight a top contender and prove that he's clean, blah, 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 blah. But it'll probably happen in Texas, Brazil, or California. I can already see Luke wanting to kill me.
That has nothing to do with what you just said, though.
Right.
That's just a general statement.
Josh?
Yeah. So, yeah.
The whole situation is just shit. It's what we all deserve. I mean, no matter what comes out of all this, it comes out bad. I don't see anything good coming of this at all. And I mean, I pretty much said all of my piece on this when Ben was making his point, so I don't need to reiterate it again.
My question: why is Vitor still on the card?
I think they're trying to fill it in still.
I don't know. I don't know how Vitor can be on the card with the not passing the test.
I don't think
Are they still trying to milk the testosterone? I mean, it wasn't illegal. Are they pulling like a Mark McGuire on Andro, like wasn't illegal at the time angle?
Yeah, I think so. I think he didn't apply for a license at the time, so they didn't.
I'm all about pulling Chael. I mean, come on, dude, Jesus, But why is Vitor still on the card?
It was one of those tests where if he would have refused the test, it would have been no legal repercussions. There would have been no repercussions whatsoever.
But now they're talking about Vanderlei and Vitor possibly. I've seen that being bounced around on Twitter for the past hour, and that would be the most.
No!
You can't tell me that they're not going to put Vitor in the title.
I want to see that. I want to watch that fight so bad.
If you say Vitor in title shot one more time, I'm going to kick you in the fucking taint.
Please, Vitor versus
Calm down
Vanderlei.
there,
Please.
Thiago Santos.
Kick around the world.
Thiago Santos. I'll be Eric Prindle.
I wish you were.
Go Rochambeau for it.
I wish you were. Dateline, Vancouver, Quebec. Oh, no, Vancouver, Quebec. I'm an idiot.
Jesus Christ.
I really, good lord. Where are my provincial knowledge skills coming from? I'm sorry.
Connor.
No, I'm a geography minor. I know where that shit is, yo.
Oh, you just don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it.
Well played, Josh. Well played.
Kaboom! Vancouver, British Columbia, where UFC 174 is taking place live on pay-per-view. Contact your cable providers. We're going to run through the five fight main card here. Left to right, I'll end it. Give me a winner and a method of victory. Leading off things on the pay-per-view broadcast, Canada's own Ryan Jimmo takes on Ovince St. Preux in a light heavyweight contest.
Oh, man. Jimmo by very, very wrestle-heavy decision.
Owen St. Preux liver kick.
Why?
Because fuck Jimmo.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
All right.
OSP by second round flying knee.
St. Preux via decision. In the heavyweight division, the returning Andrei Arlovsky takes on Brendan Schaub.
Arlovsky KO round 1 in a very non-competitive fight.
Arlovsky via soul-sucking, heart-crushing knockout.
Whoever wins the knockout will certainly be meme-worthy, and it's going to be Arlovsky because Brendan Schaub is terrible at life.
Schaub's about to be climbing that ladder. He started running up when Nog did him dirty, and he's going to keep on climbing.
Shang Tsung will be coming in to steal the soul.
Your soul is mine. In the light heavyweight division, Rafael Cavalcante takes on Ryan Bader.
Bader.
Boo!
Bader by second round TKO.
Hey, Ben. You're a big Nathan Jones guy, aren't you?
Yes, I am. You son of a bitch.
All right. Bader by second round TKO. Okay, all right. Hey, Connor.
Fijal via looping overhand right after Bader throws 3 or 4 spamming power punches.
I got him this time.
Circle button. Yeah. I'm actually going to pick Bader here by decision.
Yeah, you are.
Cavalcante by KO. I'm gonna say some nasty Muay Thai, maybe a flying knee. In the co-main event in the welterweight division, Rory McDonald versus Tyron Woodley.
Tyron Woodley by TKO round 2, I guess. I don't know. It depends which Tyron Woodley decides to play.
Oh God. Uh, that's kind of how I feel about this fight, because it's either going to be really awesome or really, really bad. I think Tyrone Woodley is going to push the pace and hopefully find a hole to land a really strong knockout punch and win via KO or TKO in the third round.
He would, by channeling his Uber wrestling days and being smart enough to not strike with Rory, but for small intervals.
These are two of the most unpredictable, inconsistent fighters in the world. I never know which Tyron Woodley's going to get in the cage, and I really don't know which Rory McDonald walks in every time he fights. At their best, at their top game, which I'll kind of the only way to evaluate them because they're so inconsistent. I like Rory a little bit more a little more fluidity, and some more tools in his arsenal. I'm gonna go Rory by TKO.
I don't agree with that only because if Robbie Lawler was able to control Rory on the ground in that third round, what the hell would Tyron Woodley do to him?
Yeah, but you never know which T Wood's going to show up is the problem.
So he's saying best.
But Robbie Lawler's pretty consistent nowadays. You know what Robbie you're going to get with T Wood. You got two different guys.
So
But the thing is with Robbie is that Robbie's ground game is actually kind of gets underrated. You know, he's not a good wrestler, but he's good enough to not get caught in a precarious position.
He's very good. He's very underrated, but T Wood is so much better, and he's a 100 times better wrestler than him, and he's a better wrestler than Rory.
Which he has.
His fight IQ is questionable at times.
Fight IQ may be questionable, but he said the best version of both of them. Going off of that.
And I still like Rory if it's the best version.
No, I'm saying I disagree only because of the fact that if he was able to be controlled by Robbie Lawler on the ground, I feel that the best version of Tyron Woodley would still be able to control the best version of Rory on the ground and either hurt him or finish him.
Ben, Devil's Advocate, the best version of Rory McDonald does not get controlled on the ground by Robbie Lawler. Fatality.
I don't know.
Okay. Christ almighty. In the main event...
No, I agree with you on that, but now I'm debating on whether I think that Tyron Woodley can still do it. That's a very good point.
Well, have it in your predictions. In the main event of the evening, for the UFC Flyweight Championship of this world, Demetrius Johnson defends against Ali Bogatinov.
I don't think Johnson will finish him. I think Bogatinov is way too tough, and I think his submission game is good enough that he won't get submitted. So I feel like it'll be just a dominant decision by DJ.
Well, here's my hot take on this. I think logically what we can expect is Demetrius Johnson to beat Ali Bogatinov. But I want to say, thanks to this running theme of the next pound-for-pound contender being knocked off the throne, I feel Bogatinov is going to land something crazy and KO, not necessarily KO, but like TKO Mighty Mouse. Just because, like, I don't know. I hope John Jones is next. But, you know, Hen and Brout, no one saw that coming.
Why?
And so, you know, hey, Bogatinov, he's got strong, he's got, you know, he has really powerful stand-up, not necessarily the most technical. He's really good at phase shifting. And maybe he can catch Mighty Mouse in one of those moments. That was similar to what Dotson did to him, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm not. But if he can land that blow and get the finish, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be that surprised.
I believe Dotson countered him at boxing range.
Well, I mean, I couldn't remember if they were standing up or something like that. I felt like it was in between something, you know what I mean?
Standing.
Well, hey, whatever.
Dodson only lost that fight because he gassed. There's literally no. If he gassed 1 round later, he would have won the fight by decision.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ben, and if my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle. Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Chael could have rode out the ground control for 30 more seconds, then he would have had a title at some point, but
True.
his things didn't happen. No, I've been high on Bagotinov since before he came into the UFC. When he came in, I thought that he was going to be a title challenger. I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly, but, I mean, I agree that Demetrius has shown some holes in previous fights, but in his past few fights, he seems to have sealed those holes up pretty efficiently. He looked better on his feet in his last fight than he ever has. He's finishing guys now on a regular basis, and I mean really high-level guys, and I don't think that Bagotinov is quite there to beat him yet. But, I mean, I rate DJ extremely highly. It's not a knock on Bagotinov. DJ's just too good, so I'm going to take him by unanimous decision.
I don't think Bagotinov will ever be good enough to beat DJ.
No, I'm saying I think that DJ's that good. I agree with that.
Bagotinov is very, very well-rounded. Great Sambo background. That's why I think he's too good at a lot of areas to get finished. But I mean, to me, I've been pounding my chest about DJ pound for pound king. I think he's the best fighter in the world, and I think it's not. Bagotinov may steal around, might get 2, but DJ's too much, man, and he's too much over 5 rounds, which is where he's very comfortable, and he actually gets more comfortable in those 4th and 5th rounds. That's where he kills you. And I don't think Bagotinov's just not. That's not his bread and butter. He won't get comfortable there. He was starting to gas out against Lineker a little bit in the 3rd, against Lineker of all people.
The body shots, though, he got blasted in that 2nd round. I believe he lost the 2nd round. I may be wrong though, but he got really hit with just shot after shot to the liver and to the spleen and to the. It was, ugh. I was wincing with each shot because Lineker, for all his flaws, has got crippling power, and Bagotinov just took it.
Well, then DJ will see that, study it, and adapt it to his game plan and try to wear him down too.
I'd love to see DJ.
Matt Hume certainly will be adding that into the tape, I'm sure, because he's one of the most underrated coaches in the sport.
Remember that, how he pointed out the armbar off the Kimura attempt in that 5th round? He just did it, and it worked beautifully. One of the best coaches, bar none, in the sport, but he's so underrated because very few fighters really trained by him that are known. So it's a problem.
It's not a hotbed of MMA by any means.
No, not at all. It used to be back in the early days, but everyone remembers the Wizard Matt Hume. But recently, he hasn't had much to go with. But one thing I wanted to run by all of you is we're talking about we want this sport to grow. We all love this sport. We want it to grow. We want more people to watch it. We want it to become more popular. And one of the biggest obstacles to that is obviously the fact that there aren't that many draws. And a big problem with that is lightweight and below very rarely ever has draws. What have we had? We had Uriah Faber and we had BJ Penn. Who other than those two have been draws? Frankie Edgar, a little. Benson Henderson at one point drew some nice numbers for Fox, but we've never really had a draw. Which comes to my next point. We've got TJ Dillashaw. He just came off of a massive upset. Could end up being a star based on the fact that, as sucky as it sounds, he's got the factor that he speaks English. He's pretty, not good looking, but whatever, blonde, whatever. They can pull it off. I think the best thing for the lighter weight classes, for the MMA and the UFC, is for Johnson to look great in this fight. They match him up with Dodson. Dodson blasts him, and I mean blasts Johnson. I know that
Not
sucks.
gonna happen.
I know it sucks to hear that, Luke, and I'm not saying that, but hear me out.
Do we have a
Nobody
choice?
has forgotten that John Dodson blasted TJ Dillashaw and gave him his loss. Nobody's forgotten that. You give Johnson maybe a defense or two. You give TJ a defense or two to establish themselves as champions. If it happens, put those two in a title fight. First of all, I think Dodson would be a top 10 bantamweight for sure with his power, speed, and wrestling. And athleticism. I don't see how he wouldn't be.
He wasn't before.
He wasn't, but he was also he was much less experienced also. Now, I feel like he's definitely hitting his stride. Look how he's looked in his past since the title fight. He's 3-0 since the title fight. He's looked amazing in each one of them. I think that matching him up with TJ Dillashaw, if they both get a couple of if he wins the title and they each get a couple of title defenses, could develop a serious star at their lowest weight class. If Dodson wins, you got a 2-division champion who the crowd loves. He can talk. He loves to talk. He's very personable. He can get people to like him. He can get a crowd behind him. Dillashaw, he's a chill guy. You feel like you can enjoy being a team alpha male, the penis cake. These are two guys who could develop into stars, and I feel like they could use each other as the catalyst for catapulting one of them into star. If Dodson loses, okay, he goes back to flyweight. He's still the champion. It did not affect BJ Penn when it happened to him. It will not affect him. He moved up a weight class. TJ Dillashaw clearly improved.
But they've said that there's no more of that. They're not going to let somebody move up a weight class without dropping their belt first. They've been adamant about that.
Okay, so let's say he moves up without dropping his belt and drops his belt. Comes up, loses an awesome title fight. I cannot see a fight between them not being anything but awesome. I just feel like if the UFC wants to build the flyweight and bantamweight classes into draws, they need something like that. They really do. And
or they could just do a better job at promoting the fighters they have.
They can't. We've seen it time and again, but we've seen a couple times that champion versus champion matches. People love to see it. People get excited for it. And imagine if you can't tell me that you would not be excited to see John Dodson. I mean, not win the title. I know that would suck for you, but think about it. He wins the title, defends his title by knockouts over and over. DJ Dillashaw is looking great as the title holder. Match those two up.
So your promotion plan hinges on the results of 6 fights going exactly the way that they need to.
No, I'm saying,
and you see why the UFC has so many problems, because that's the kind of shit they do.
No, what I'm saying is that I think that would be just that situation could be the best thing that could happen for him, and they could set it up. They need to put Dodson in a title fight immediately.
Demetrius Johnson could be a draw right now. They just are failing to.
I know.
He has everything going for him.
But he cannot generate interest with the one thing that has been proven to do so, a mic. He can't do it. As much as it sucks, Chael Sonnen is someone people would rather watch than Demetrius Johnson. And I know it's crazy to say it. It's the most.
When's DJ had a chance?
Conor McGregor's made himself known. It's fucked up, but I wouldn't be surprised if Conor McGregor had more Twitter followers than DJ.
I could probably look this up real quick.
Of course. You probably know it by heart.
He probably does.
And think about what I'm saying, and I hate it, and we all hate it. We all hate it. If it was based on skill, which is what it should be, DJ would be one of the most popular fighters, if not top 3 most popular fighters in the world. Jose Aldo, John Jones, these people are getting in millions of buys. Look at Floyd Mayweather. He could talk on the mic. He's the most talented fighter in the world. And he gets 2 million buys. 2 million buys when he has the right thing.
Jose Aldo?
Sorry.
Talented.
Floyd Mayweather.
McGregor's got 50,000 more followers.
That's crazy.
Than DJ.
But that's because Conor McGregor is making an effort to make himself known, to get himself followers, to get himself.
I think the other thing too is that he's also a nationalist.
It's possible, and you know what? We saw that with GSP in Canada too. But think about it. Rampage was extremely popular because of his persona. He was able to talk. He did not have a nationalist thing going for him. He was just really popular. If the UFC is not going to push you, and we've seen it, John Jones has called them out on the issue that he feels like they don't support him.
It is not the UFC. It is not Demetrius Johnson's job to promote Demetrius Johnson. It's his promoters.
You're right. But if the promoter's not doing its job, we've seen that fighters can do it for themselves. Because Demetrius Johnson wants to have enough money after his career to never have to work again, or if he has to work again, he's going to work by opening a gym. He doesn't want to have to fight longer than he has. Look at Chuck Liddell, who fought longer than he has. He didn't need to. The guy had millions of dollars, but he still did it anyway. We've seen fighters time and again do so.
It's artificial. It's not DJ's game. I'd much rather Johnson devote his time to being the best fighter in the world than some half-ass lame shit-talking.
I really don't think it would take too much effort if he wants to. I don't think he has the temperament for it. I'll give you that. I don't think he's able to. But I think that if he was able to pull a Conor McGregor, for lack of a better term, or a Chael Sonnen, he'd be immensely popular. He'd be one of the more popular champions and one of the more reliable draws.
Just be fake and give up his integrity and make up a bunch of horse shit, and then he can get some fans.
No, it doesn't. You don't have to make
Hey,
up.
By the way, the dude
Greg
is
Jackson
sponsored.
doesn't need to be on here.
The dude is sponsored by Xbox. He's doing fairly well for himself.
He's doing fairly well, but I don't think he's a millionaire or even close.
Who the
I don't think
fuck
he would win.
cares?
I don't know that Aldo's a millionaire, and he's had a lot of title defenses.
I don't think Aldo's a millionaire either. GSP's a very, very, very wealthy man.
And GSP didn't shit talk anybody. He didn't
GSP
talk at
The
all.
nationalist thing going for him. Chael Sonnen did not. Chael Sonnen is probably a millionaire. Is definitely a millionaire.
Good for fucking Chael. He's
Doesn't
28 and 14. Money isn't everything.
The shit talking was what did it for him.
Well, that and the fact that he started winning and beating good competition.
Yes, obviously it goes hand in hand. You're not going to be Charles Crazy Horse Bennett and get 400,000 pay-per-view buys. You got to win. DJ is doing the winning part already.
Chris Weidman's a draw. No nationalist. No,
We have not established that. He's never headlined a pay-per-view without Anderson. We don't know.
but
Anderson was
putting him on the pay-per-view with Anderson increased the buy rate by miles over what Anderson had been having.
What was the first pay-per-view thing? They did 600, right?
Yes, with Weidman coming off a year out of the cage and his last fight being
That
on
was
Fuel.
Anderson. That was all riding off Anderson.
Right, and then look at the numbers on the second fight when it jumped up by like 500,000 almost,
Yeah.
400,000.
It was the rematch of the century for MMA.
Because Chris Weidman did something crazy in the cage and got everybody's attention.
But now we have to see, will Chris Weidman's popularity carry over from that when he's already been out for a very long time since then?
The problem for DJ is he's trying to build a title's prestige that never had one or never existed before. Weidman picked up the prestige of the title that Anderson had. By beating Anderson, Weidman had credibility. There is no one for DJ to beat to get that kind of credibility because there was no champion before. He is the only champion that the division has ever had in the UFC. And so he's trying to build the division literally himself.
By himself.
The problem is he's not promoting it by himself as well. Yes, the UFC is the one who's supposed to promote it, but it doesn't hurt for a
So
fight.
he's supposed to talk up his opponents and himself too?
He should absolutely do it if he wants to get more popular. Luke, come on. You know I'm not wrong here.
I also know this does not need to be more than an hour show, Ben. Holy shit.
I'm not saying he should because that's what he's supposed to
All right.
do.
Keep
Because
talking.
it's the smart thing to do. And it is. And we've seen it in multiple different examples.
It's not smart to... No, it isn't. You become a freak show and not an athlete. No one knows about Chael Sonnen, the fighter. No one can rattle off what his best wins were. They just know him as that guy that guy that talks a lot of shit about it. That guy that Anderson Silva. And that's not Demetrius Johnson. He's an athlete.
I don't know. I feel that he doesn't need to talk shit like Chael Sonnen and become a caricature of himself. I'm saying he can definitely make some waves by saying something like, I don't respect this opponent. He doesn't have to go over the top, but
Why would he say that?
Because it gets people interested, and you know
Lowest common denominator, the fringe of society.
And
Oh, this
who's
guy.
the one who
But Chael did all of that in an effort to get a title shot. Demetrius has the title. The champion just doesn't start just randomly shit-talking everybody and running
He's at
his
the
mouth because
top
he's
of
already there.
Yes.
He's at the top of his
But
profession.
what about someone like John? What about someone like Kane? The heavyweight champion of the world should be a huge draw. He had the most amazing trilogy with Junior Dos Santos, and their last pay-per-view did 300K. Why? Because both of them don't talk shit. They don't do anything. They don't talk. They don't generate interest because nobody gives a crap about what they say. It's the same crap over and over and over. I'm reading threads. The only ones that ever have views and comments are the ones where JDS said, I think he got lucky with that last one, and then you get 400 comments saying you're full of shit, Junior. When they say something that's controversial or not something nice or respectful, people want to talk about it.
That's not the way you grow the sport. It's not the direction that you want to go.
I don't know, but remember the time when they did have the most pay-per-view buys. They had guys like Brock. Yes, Brock bought in his pay-per-view popularity probably from the WWE for a large.
Probably. I don't think Brock said a single word.
Relax. Obviously.
Yes. At their massive draw, they
word.
Ben, let other people speak.
I know, but stop harping on my one word of probably. It's not relevant, and you know it. You know what I meant.
Your one word of probably?
With the Brock thing.
Yep, yeah. Their biggest draws were Brock Lesnar and George St. Pierre. Two guys who didn't talk shit at all.
Brock Lesnar? What are you talking about? He talked tons of shit. He talked shit about Frank Mir. He was riding Heath Herring at the end of the fight doing a cowboy thing. What are you talking about? He was the biggest shit talker they had.
He was not the biggest shit talker they had. He responded to Mir because Mir kept poking the bear.
And it generated interest. He yelled that one of the best promo videos I ever saw was literally just Brock watching his first fight with Frank Mir and getting so pissed about Steve Mazzagatti not stopping the tap after his 6 taps that he punched a door off its hinges. Okay?
But if you really think that's how the sport is going to grow, then I feel really bad for you.
I don't think it's going to grow in America where they get the most money without it.
If you think the key to expanding Demetrius Johnson's reputation as a fighter by saying he doesn't respect John Dodson, then I really have to question a lot about what you say, because that is so ass backwards and juvenile that I can't even begin.
If the sport is actually going to become a sport, I'll agree with you, but it's not. It really isn't, and it is a business at this point, and it will be a business until the one thing that matters and one thing that people actually pay for to see is the best fighters in the world. But until then, until I start seeing that people are paying to see Demetrius Johnson for his skills and not Chael Sonnen for the fact that he talks shit.
Ben, people are not going to start paying money to see the best fighters in the world until the UFC starts promoting them as the best fighters in the world and doesn't promote the shit talking. People care about the shit talking because that's all the UFC tells them to care about.
And on that note, that'll be all for tonight, guys. Have a good night.